You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back to the Cabral Concept. It's great to have you with me here today, especially on this Mindset and Motivation Monday. It's absolutely one of my favorite shows of the week to record. I do love them all, but this is probably my favorite. And the reason is this. We all need the motivation. Really, we all have to get in the proper mindset every single day of the week. And the reason is that we don't want to let one day or even 1 week slide by on us, because not just for the day itself, but it can start to snowball into a pattern in our life where we get into a funk. So there are ways that I've learned over the past couple of years especially, but I've been working on this now for 20 years, right? To reprogram my mind, to get into the right state, to stay happy, to be happy, even when I'm in stressful circumstances, even when I'm around negative people. And I think we all have that as well. Well, we can take it to the next level using the principle that I'm about to talk about today, and that is how to ensure that you never have a bad day. Now, I know that sounds like a tall order right there, but what I want to do is, and I spoke about this before, so on episode 1018, so stephencabral.com/1018, I talked about how to be productive even when you're not motivated, right? And that was an important one because there are some days, there's no doubt about it, there's some days where we just don't want to get up and do. We want to stay in bed. We all have those days. I have those days. But you know that you can't if you have certain responsibilities that you have to fulfill. And if you don't want to look back on that day and say, wow, that was a wasted day. For me, maybe it's different with me, but this is how I look at it. And that's why I'll never regret getting as sick as I did when I was so young, because it forced me to grow up fast. It forced me to look at life as short. And so for me, I don't want to waste any time. And that includes a day, just even one day. The other part is this, is that now that I feel I've been given a second chance, basically, that I have the energy, that I have the vitality, I have the clarity of thinking, my joints don't hurt anymore, I can do the things that I want to do, and then some, even though every year I'm getting older, right? How does that happen? Well, it happens, I believe, with both the mind and the body. So we have a lot of great practitioners, and they're working on the body, and they're saying, this should work. But when you never talk about the mind, and the mind is so much more powerful than the body, you're missing out on a lot in your practice. And that's why with the Integrative Health Practitioner Certification, I talk about this. I'm like, we have two modules right now. The Toxic Emotions module, and we have the Success Mindset module. Both of these are talked about in the Rain Barrel Effect. We just go in depth with the Integrative Health Practitioner. Is that you need to be able to get through to yourself as well as the people in your practice that how they think does matter. That negative thoughts and being in an angry state, an unhappy state, a depressed state, an anxious state actually physiologically changes the hormones in your body. It changes the blood sugar in your body. It changes the immune cells in your body. This is not me talking about new age-based medicine. This is me talking about literal conventional medicine, science-based proven research, right? And just a quick example of that is when cortisol levels go up, we know that the body's going to say, we need energy, right? And I've talked about this in depth with one of the most popular shows I've done to date, and that was on how cortisol affects the blood sugar and how that basically raises inflammation in the body. And so that causes weight gain as well. That was episode 957. If you haven't checked out that, it teaches you exactly about that. Well, blood sugar is just one part of it. When cortisol comes up, it's just called glucocorticoids, as well as the catecholamines, the adrenaline, all of those things in your body. Once you get revved and you're stressed, well, what happens is as well that you are going to stop producing as much of your first line of defense. So that's the secretory IgA. This is what allows you to eat something and then block the toxins, or allergens in the food. It's also what helps you when you get on an airplane or you're traveling or shaking someone's hand or whatever it might be to block those viral, bacterial-based pathogens that are getting into your body. So yes, the more stressed you are, the weaker your immune system, right? So again, we know these things, and that's one more reason why we have to understand that we have to work on our thought process. And that's why I do a Mindset and Motivation Monday. In the beginning, not so much anymore, but the beginning is like, well, what are you doing as a naturopath, functional medicine, bioregulatory, Ayurvedic-based doctor practitioner teaching about mindset? And the reason is, I said, you have to understand that I've been practicing a long time. And if you go by simply giving someone the supplements and food alone, they're not going to get the greatest results possible, because some of those blockages also include the mind. A perfect example is we can help people get over SIBO and candida overgrowth, et cetera, parasites. But what happens is, if someone's always stressed, they never really seal up their gut wall, because stress can cause intestinal permeability. And if they're very, very stressed and they always have IBS or SIBO over and over and over, well, that can be because the ileocecal valve, which is where the small intestine flows into the large intestine, stays open. And the problem is, if that stays open or stays open too long, it backfills essentially. The bacteria from the colon, which should never be in the small intestine, actually goes backwards, right? I always call it, which is a crude analogy, but it's exactly what it is. If you have a garbage disposal that hasn't been basically emptied, and you run the water and it overflows back up, well, all that putrefied food is coming back up into your sink. That's exactly what happens when the ileocecal valve is open. You don't want that happening. That's how you give yourself SIBO. You can actually get SIBO on your own through stress. So again, we have to understand that the mind is as powerful as the body, because the mind affects the body, right, through that brain-gut axis and through your nervous system. But also your body affects your brain as well. So we need to look at both, right? Psychology, your thinking, your emotions, your feeling, affecting your physiology. And your physiology, the way that you carry yourself, the energy that you have, affects your psychology. So that's why when I have someone that comes in my practice and they are depressed, they are low mood, I just want them to get any feeling. Like, that's why I did a podcast. I don't have the number in front of me as well. And I talk about this again in depth in my book and in the Integrative Health Practitioner program, is how to get yourself feeling something. I will take someone feeling angry at their current life situation, not for a long time, but for a period of time, to get them out of the depressed, apathetic-based state. Because that's at least a little higher on that vibrational scale. They're moving within their being. They're feeling something. They know what they don't want. I would rather have them attracted to what they do want, but I'll take that. This is what I don't want. Because at least anger is moving them out of depression, right? Now they're angry. Okay, well, we can work towards that. Great. Now let's take that anger and channel it into what you do want, right? The protocol. Because if you're apathetic, you don't even care if you do the protocol or not. You don't care if you take that vacation or not. So we need to move people out of that. All right. Now back to the topic at hand, which is this: how to ensure that you never have a bad day. This is exactly what I do, and I started doing it. It's not 3 years old, so it's more like 5-6 years old now. It's this. So super stressful times for me, let's say 7-8 years ago, I was opening my second practice. And so that means double everything, right? So now we hire, let's say, another dozen people for our team. I did a build out of this huge wellness center, all of these great things. But of course, not without its stress. At that time, I was having my first daughter, my first child. So a lot of stress, right? There's the finances that go into building out the wellness center. There's all those different things. Okay. So tons of work to do. There was more work than hours in the day. What I said is this: I know about stress. I know what it did to me in the past. I know what it will do to me. And I can't be at my best for everyone on my team and everyone I see in my practice and everything that I'm doing if I can't control my own life and my own stress. So what I said is this: all of your time during the day, your waking hours, is basically not your time, right? That's dedicated to the people in your practice. That's what you've chosen, then that's great. That's what I love to do. But it's also dedicated to your team and getting the second practice up and running and all of these different things. Okay, all of that's great. But what I said is this: you're going to burn out. You're going to be a stressful mess if you don't begin to control that day. So what I said is this: okay, every single morning I wake up before the rest of my family and I have an hour of quiet. Because again, my day it's chaos, but in a good way, right? Because I'm just moving from thing to thing to thing. So what I want to do is what do I need to do? Well, I need to turn on the parasympathetic nervous system. I need to quiet the chaos. I need to step outside the chaos. So I basically wake up an hour before everyone else. I wake up around 5:30. So that means most of the world is still sleeping. So it's quiet time. It's very, very nice. Not a lot going on. So that's my time to center myself for the day. And I've gone through my morning routine before, but that's my time to get myself motivated, in the right mindset, to ease into the day so I don't start off high cortisol, right? So then what I do is after that, I say, okay, I'm going to be in my office. Now I'm in my office by 7 o'clock or so, but I don't start seeing people until 8. So that means I have an hour now of quiet time in my office to enjoy the rest of my smoothie and whatever else. And then I get set for the day. So I'm set for the day. Okay. Now people start to come in around 7:30. I start to get all those messages. I can respond. But I'm centered now. Like I've taken my time in the morning to center myself. So now I'm working, let's say 7:30 or so, 8 o'clock, until about 12:30. So I basically said about 4 to 5 hours, right? That's what I'm going to do. About 4 hours, 4.5 hours. And that's going to be straight work, right? Because that is straight work, and it's focused work. My entire schedule is booked in essentially 15-minute increments. And it's booked. But then I say, okay, 12:30. I actually have an alarm on my phone. I think I spoke about this in IHP. So now I'm getting confused between the two. But I have alarms that go off throughout the day to make me check back in. So I wake up typically before my alarm clock by no matter what. When my alarm clock goes off in the morning, that is basically an anchor. And you can set the alarm, especially if you have an iPhone, for whatever you want to call it. And again, in the past, I had exactly what I was going to do at that time. So wake up, give thanks and gratitude, and meditate, right? So like that was one period of my life. Then it was like wake up and motivate, to get myself fired up to move through a day when I know that was overwhelming with the amount that I had to do. And then at lunch, it was, basically it was take lunch, because like I could just work through the whole day. There's no doubt about that. And I could do that. And I could do that for probably like a year, and then I would burn out. So that's not a good idea. So I know now, not smart, you want to do this forever, right? I always tell people, I've got another 30, 35 years in me easily. Like that's easily, I can do this. So that's a lot of podcasts too. I haven't figured out how many podcasts that will be. So what I'm thinking is this. I don't want to pace myself. I want to get the most out of every day, but I need to be able to work in spurts. I need to be able to be sympathetic nervous system and then turn off that parasympathetic nervous system. So now at 12:30, hopefully I've already started to wind down before that, but if I haven't, it basically on my alarm it says check in. For me, check in means check in with yourself. How are you doing? Are you breathing? Meaning like are you getting those belly breaths in, or are you holding all that tension in your chest, right? How's your energy level right now? How's your level of stress? What do you need right now? So I do a check-in with myself. I believe so much in self-awareness. And what I do at 12:30, usually before that, usually around 12:15, is I'm already winding down. And then I'm going for a walk. So I used to bring lunch, now I do not. I always go for a walk to Whole Foods or a place around me where I know I can get some clean food for lunch, but I want to get out of my office. And the reason I want to do that is a change of space. So what I'm talking about with you today are creating anchors in your day. So what I've done are create 3 to 4 very specific anchors, and I'm going to teach all of those for you and give you a recap at the end. Right? You heard about my first anchor. It's how I start my day. I start my day quiet and relaxed. I can't ask my 2 little girls and my wife and out the whole world around me to just say, listen, I can't have you guys talk. That's not going to happen. So what I do, because I can't ask them to do that, because that's not part of their goals, right? So what I do is I wake up before them, so I have my quiet time. Now, of course, that means I have to go to bed then a little bit earlier, but not too much earlier, right? If I'm waking up at 5:30, because I know my family is going to start to wake up at 6:30, well, that's not that much earlier that I have to go to bed. What time do I have to go to bed? Well, 9:30 or so, right? 10 o'clock? Well, that's what I do. The trade-off is worth it to me, but we'll talk about that at the end. So then I know that then I'm having myself centered so that, if one of my daughters wakes up and she's crying about something or whatever it might be, right? But I always try to, when I wake them, and sometimes I wake them, sometimes my wife makes them, but when I try to just, start quietly to ease them into the day. I give them a hug. I'm trying to to calm their nervous systems as well, because, kids get amped right away for the most part. So I try to just say, it's going to be a great day. Try to put all of those great things into their mind as well. That's my job, right? It's my job as their dad to kind of help them, right? Before the age of 8 years old, maybe 10 years old at the oldest, that's when they're able to be programmed, not able to be, they're being programmed whether you like it or not. And you're their role model, and I'm not a perfect role model by any means, but I do my best. I don't beat myself up anymore that I'm not perfect. I can't be perfect. I'm not a perfect person by any means. Most people will tell you that know me, but I do my very best. And when I mess up, I apologize after not too long, probably about a half hour or so. It takes me to cool down. That pitta needs a little time to cool. And then I'm like, wow, that wasn't the best way for me to handle that. I apologize. I'm going to try not to do that in the future. I may, but here's why. And then I go into the reasons why I might have felt, the way that I did. And I do that. So anyway, getting back on track, at 12:30 at the latest, I have an alarm that goes off now that says check-in. Before, it would tell me exactly what I needed to do. Now I walk about 20 minutes to wherever it is that I'm getting lunch. That's typical for me, about 20 minutes or so. After that, I'm sitting down by myself to have a quiet lunch. People ask me hey, let's go do lunch. Can I pick your brain? Can I do all of those things? And, I would say once a week I do that at the most. But my lunch is my quiet time. When I walk, I put on binaural beats, or I put on a comedy-based podcast, or I put on something that puts me into the parasympathetic nervous system. It's not my time to get ramped back up. I meet with people all day long. So I meet with people one-on-one through Skype or in practice, but I'm also meeting with my team through, we're a virtual-based practice, but, I'm communicating with them probably 100 times, 100 back and forths, during that time as well. And it's a lot, right? But they're quick questions, but it's a lot. I'm giving recommendations for my health coaches. My team is asking about anything, orders, new products we're developing, could be anything. And I'm answering those questions at the same time. So now I've already been with people all day and I love it, but now I need to turn it off. Quiet time, headphones in. I love being around people, but I don't want to hear all the negativity and all that because I need to get back into my calm space, my quiet space. So that's why binaural beats are one of my go-to. And I've told you before, I love whole tones. It's one of the ones that I love to listen to. There are many, many other great ones. That's one that I just give as an easy recommendation. I'd love to create my own in the future, and I most likely will. But right now, it's a great product. It will always be a good product. Even when I create my product in the future, probably a year from now, it won't come out for a while, this will still be a good product. So I always want you to know that. When I give a new recommendation, it doesn't negate the previous one. It just means it's okay to have more than one, right? That's how I look at things. Okay, so I have my lunch, and then after that, I'm still either listening to binaural beats, or I'm in my office now, and I have a waiting room in my office. It's quiet. Or if it's the summertime or fall, I'm outside and I'm reading. And what I'm doing is, again, now I'm nurturing my love for education, my love for growth. I'm doing something that I enjoy. That's what you need to do during lunch as well. What do you enjoy? Literally, if you enjoy writing or writing music, or you enjoy, what else could I even talk about? Because there are other people's hobbies, right? So knitting, you could do any one of those things. What brings you some joy? That's what you want to do during a quick lunch break. Now, I know not everyone has the ability to do that, but if you're in an office or you're an office park, there's nowhere for you to really go. Get in your car, drive to a park if you're able to. Sit in the park, right? Get into nature. If you're not able to, just get into your car. Put on a podcast you love. Have lunch by yourself. That. All of that's okay. That's not weird. That's okay. You're allowed to take some time to yourself to reset, especially if you have a stressful work environment. I have a stressful work environment, but it's not stressful that I don't like it. It's just we're dealing with serious topics with people that are, sick and they want to, figure out what's going on. I enjoy it. I'm not stressed doing it, but, it's high intensity. So I'm turning it off, right? And then I'm walking back from wherever I am. So I'm doing about 30 minutes of walking during lunch. That is my walking meditation. I'm relaxed. I'm focused on my breath. I'm not thinking about work. I'm not checking email, all of those things. Then I get back to my office, and that's usually by 1:30 p.m. And at 1:30 p.m., I'm prepping for that next part to my day. So this is me getting ready for whatever it might be, recording, Skype, in person, could be anything. But it's all set. Okay, so now I'm anchored in. I call it the second half of my day because the first day is over. So, sorry, not call it my second half of my day. It's my second half of my day. I call it my second day. It's a whole new day because I'm re-anchored. I'm refreshed. So what I'm looking to do now is look at this as a whole new day. And it's literally how I look at it. The first day is done. Now I get this second, basically, little sprint. And that's from, let's say, around 2 o'clock to 5:30. All right, let's say that's what it is. 1:30 to 5:30, 2 to 5:30. So I'm like, all right, I've got about 3.5, 4 more hours. My second half of the day is shorter than my first day because I'm going to have less energy typically as a normal human being following my circadian rhythm. So what I do, and again, it's different for different days because sometimes I go to the gym at 4, but let's just say a typical day right here. And what I'm doing then is I'm then getting back into my service part of my practice, whatever it might be. Again, recording, of course, working team meetings, I'm doing Skype consultations, you name it. After that, that is my end of the day. And I have an alarm that goes off that says, check in. Again, now before it could say, it's time to walk home, it's time to go home, it's time for dinner, like whatever it might mean. Because my goal is that for at least 6 out of 7 nights, one night a week, I'm not always able to make it. And that's because I have a very long consultation day. But 6 out of 7 nights, it's very important to me that I have dinner with my family. It's always been something that I knew since I was younger that it's very important for me to be able to, is to have the luxury, if I'm able to have that, of having dinner with my family, of connecting at that time of the day, to bring us all back together at one time, especially when my girls are young. And then after that, it's still their time, right? It's bath time, it's books, and then it's bed, right? Bath, books, bed. That's how we do it. So that is a specific anchor in my day as well. But before, I have to be able to separate the day from my family so that no matter what stress was going on during the day, that I'm able to then turn that off, right? So for me, what I've found is my go-to is walking with binaural beats or walking with a mindless, fun podcast or whatever it might be. Typically right now where I'm at is I'm walking and I'm getting my, we use an in-office, I'm not big on email, we use an in-office program called Slack. So my goal by the time I get home is that I'm at inbox 0 with Slack. So then it's like I just get through, I literally won't walk through my door because I'll just bang out the 20, 30 messages, maybe more that I have to get back to people. And it's quick. It's just like text messaging. And then everyone has all their answers on my team. They're able to help all of the people that they help. And I'm done. I know that I've done my work for the day. I take a nice deep breath and I'm ready now for, the crazy chaos of having little kids and getting home. And then, so what I try to do is I center myself, I greet them, I say it's great to see them and all of those things. How was their day? And they'll tell me all the craziness of their day. And then we sit down. Now, I'm not saying that can't be chaos again, but what I'm doing is creating anchors in my day. The last anchor I'm going to share with you is this. After the chaos of the dinner, the bath, the books, and the bed, and trying to corral them to get them into bed at night, it's like literally, it's like one more thing. What do I need? Okay, I need water now. What do I need? My blankets aren't right. Okay, I got to fix the blankets. I want my salt lamp a little lower. I want my salt lamp off tonight. It's like all of these things, they're all, but I look at it with perspective. Like I always go back to this. It's not an anchor. I'll share with my last anchor with you in a moment, but it always goes back to this. You're going to live a happy life if you do 2 things. These are my 2 things. Is that you have gratitude and you have perspective. Although family life and work and running your own business and all of those things might be crazy, you can be amazingly grateful for the opportunity. I'm grateful that I have 2 healthy girls. I'm grateful for the great family that I have. I'm grateful that I get to work as hard as I do work. I'm grateful that I get to have a podcast that I record daily for. I'm grateful that I have the integrative health practitioner certification that literally I had no time before, but now I'm recording videos or recorded videos every single week for that as well. I'm grateful for all of these opportunities, right? So I give my gratitude, which makes me now change my mindset. Like, yeah, you should be grateful for all of these things. Who are you to think that you should be stressed or unhappy that you have to do all of this work? Like, this is great stuff. Family work, family commitments, work responsibility, friends. You should be grateful to have them because some people do not, right? But also perspective, right? The perspective is some do not. Some are not able to. Some have never found the doctor practitioner to be able to show them the path. Some people have never read the books that have sparked their interest to work on their mindset. So I perspective, things can always be 10 times worse, right? So even in the worst of the worst moments, perspective helps you with that. Every single day it helps me with my kids as well. It's like the kids are going to come with all of their interesting quirks, right? And they could be whining about something or crying about something, or they could be, and I have two great girls as well. I mean, I have to be honest with you, like they're absolutely amazing, right? Amazing, but they're still kids. So my perspective is this. My perspective is, my oldest daughter is 6 now. My youngest is 4. What do I have, like 10 more years before they're teenagers? And after that, are they really going to want to hang out with me? Probably not. I want to say yes. I'm hoping yes. But, that's how I think of it. So I really try to cherish the time right now. I try to do my best. Am I perfect? No. All right? So that's 2 things that I want to leave you with as well. The last one is this. My last anchor of the day. My last anchor of the day is that by 7:30, we try to get them in bed. And I know that's early for a lot of people. But that's because we're believers, again, because of the research as well as that just how it plays out in life, that kids need a lot of sleep, especially as younger, right? Teenagers need about 10 hours, which they certainly don't get. But younger kids under the age of 10 years old need anywhere between 10 and 12 hours of sleep per night. So my girls are getting about 11 hours of sleep per night. That's when their bodies wake themselves up. And that's how we know that they're getting the right amount of sleep per night. So we try to get them in bed by 7:30. And then at 8 o'clock, my wife and I, we made this commitment a long time ago. And again, not always perfect. There can be a night. There can be something that we have going on and we have to work a little bit. But by 8 o'clock, that's it. It's basically 2 of us getting to enjoy the rest of the night for about 90 minutes from 8 to 9:30 before we start getting ready for bed. So that is the nightly routine. Now, the nightly routine could be we could watch TV, we could read books, we could do whatever we want. But that's our downtime. So I have an anchor that says you need to stop work. Right? You need to stop work because you're looking for 12 hours of calming that into the parasympathetic nervous system, right? From about 7:30 at night to 7:30 in the morning. That's your 12 hours, right? And then what do I have? Okay, well, I have that. Then I have my morning anchor. Center, relax, stay calm, breathe, lower cortisol levels because I'm more prone to higher cortisol, higher adrenaline, and, that pitta-based mindset. Then what do I have? Okay, 4 hours, 5 hours of work. Then turn it off. Again, just go for a walk. That's what works for me. Podcast, binaural beats, reading, something that I enjoy, right? Something that makes me smile. And then after that, day 2. I'm into my second half of my day. Then after that, walk, decompress. Now, if you just go from your work to your car, well, then again, this is your time then. Make sure you finish everything that you need to for the day. So when you get home, you're done for the day. So get to inbox 0. Get to whatever you need. End your day. If you can, walk home or go to the gym. Do a quick workout. Something that changes you from the work day to now the relaxed part of your day. And then before bed, what do? I get myself prepped for that next day. I have my to-do list. Everything is planned. There's nothing left on my mind. I can then have a deep, relaxed sleep. Typically before bed, I'm putting good thoughts into my head again. I'm either listening to a short video or a message on gratitude, something that is motivating. That's something. Why do I need to do that? Because I'm anchoring again, right? I begin the day and I end the day with motivation and mindset to anchor in the happiness of my life, the gratitude that I have in my life, the perspective. Why? Because it's not going to happen on its own. That's the truth. We're all waiting to stay enlightened, right? To just become Zen permanently. The problem is this. Our mind and body have beautifully set us up through the nervous system to always watch out for all the things that may harm us. That's to keep us alive, right? So that will always be built in because you need a healthy fear of certain things. For example, you do not want to cross the street if the traffic has a green light, right? Like we're all taught these things. These are smart things to do. So what we need to do is allow the workday to be that part of it. And then the other part is to be able to make sure that we can turn it off. Turn off the mind. And what that allows then is for the body to get in that parasympathetic nervous system which is the rest, relax, digest, and rejuvenate. That is when the body begins to heal itself. If you find your body breaking down faster than it's rebuilding, if you see yourself aging literally faster than ever, you need to do these 3 anchors every day. If you find yourself more anxious, more overwhelmed, a little bit lower mood, what you need to do is check in with yourself more often. Motivate yourself first thing in the morning. Motivate yourself into more of a state of gratitude before bed. I have podcasts, every single Mindset Motivation Monday. Go back and check them out. They're on all of these topics. And then check in with yourself midday. Don't allow yourself to go 12 hours of just straight sympathetic nervous system fight or flight during the day. Turn it off at least for an hour during lunch if you're able to. Hopefully this was helpful today. These are my 3 anchors, a couple more than that I want to share with you, not just morning, lunch, and evening, but actually a couple more that were thrown in there. And I'll tell you right now, if you're able to do this, it will take a little practice. It can be absolutely life transforming. As always, if this was helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone else you believe it could serve. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stevencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.